Nestled atop the hill at the end of Highland Street in Worcester, just above Lincoln Square, there sits a beautiful home with a rich and storied past, Salisbury Mansion. Originally built in 1772 by prominent early resident Stephen Salisbury and located in the square below, Salisbury Mansion is now operated by Worcester Historical Museum as the city's only historic house museum. A splendid edifice with both Georgian and later Federal-style architectural features, the home has been painstakingly restored to appear as it would have in the mid-1830s, when it was the residence of Stephen Salisbury's widow, Elizabeth Tuckerman Salisbury. But the home isn't just known for its beauty, inside and out. The story of Salisbury Mansion and the family that built it is representative of Worcester's transformation from the late 18th century throughout the 19th century. Their success mirrors the city's growth from provincial shire town to manufacturing city, and then finally, booming industrial hub. A journey accelerated by the construction of the Blackstone Canal. As was mentioned before, Salisbury Mansion was built by Stephen Salisbury, a so-called gentleman merchant, in 1772. Salisbury, still a young man, had moved to Worcester from Boston a few years before at his brother's request to open up a branch of the family's dry goods business in this growing market town. For the sake of convenience, he decided to keep both his store and home under the same roof. The business, in fact, originally occupied most of the building. Over the coming decades, Salisbury's wealth and influence grew steadily, and in 1797 he married Elizabeth Tuckerman, the daughter of a business associate. Although they had 3 children, only one, also named Stephen, survived to adulthood. Toward the end of his life, Salisbury became one of Worcester's original investors in the Blackstone Canal Company, buying 40 shares of stock. He died in 1829, shortly after the canal opened, as one of the then town's largest landowners and most prosperous citizens. With the canal opened and the town on the cusp of becoming a city, Stephen Jr. stood at the helm of the Salisbury family business. Considered an even more adroit businessman than his father, Stephen Jr. invested more money in the canal and even served a term as treasurer of the Blackstone Canal Company. He also held stakes in the railroads that eventually supplanted the canal and spurred Worcester's transformation into a major American city in the 19th century. Apart from his business dealings, Stephen II was a civic leader and even served briefly in the state senate. He was also notable as one of the city's chief cultural benefactors as industry began to thrive in the middle of the century. He was a financial supporter of dozens of institutions and causes, including the American Antiquarian Society and Mechanics Hall. Additionally, he donated most of the land on which Worcester Polytechnic Institute now sits and was the first president of its board of trustees. Upon his death in 1884, he was recognized for all he had contributed to local organizations in the burgeoning city. As one resident stated, "The growth and prosperity of his native town he has kept constantly in view." And they went on, "He has given his liberal aid and his often more valuable personal service to every institution and enterprise promotive of the general good." Stephen II's only child and son, Stephen III, then oversaw the family business and carried on its legacy of civic and cultural leadership. When he died without an heir in 1905, he left much of his fortune to fund the further betterment of the city and its institutions. Clearly, the story of the Salisbury family's ascendancy does more than simply mirror that of Worcester's own growth and development. The two, in fact, go hand in hand. It's difficult to see how the city would have become what it had without their economic leadership and generous philanthropic support. Today, Salisbury Mansion is an invaluable resource for learning this story, but it's also much more than that. The home is an immersive window into the domestic life of a prominent family in the 19th century. it has been meticulously restored to how it would have appeared in the 1830s, when it was the home of Elizabeth Tuckerman Salisbury, the original Stephen Salisbury's widow. On display are some of the family's original furniture and possessions, as well as other period-specific pieces acquired to match those detailed in family records. Highlights include Stephen Salisbury I's ornate standing desk and family portraits created by famed American portraitist Gilbert Stuart. Stuart is known for having painted portraits of the first 6 presidents, among other notables. An unfinished portrait of Washington he produced is in fact the basis for his likeness on the $1 bill. Salisbury Mansion is truly one of Worcester's and the Blackstone Valley's main attractions. The Historic House Museum and Worcester Historical Museum's commitment to telling the story of the family that occupied it make the city and the Heritage Quarter's industrial history that much more immediate and significant.